They are, I just love good scary stories. I always have. Thank you, Snow Tea. Thank you. Hello, YouTube. Let's get the screen set up here for you. There we go. Perfect. Now I have all this candy. Chocolate. More chocolate. And I still haven't ate it, but it's here. That's right, Tammy Weber. Hey, Shirley. How are you? When I told you that I like chocolate, I wasn't kidding. Chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. What is all this stuff? Let me do this. I need a bigger throne room, my dwellers. A much bigger one. There we go. You know, I was just remembering back to at the end of September of last year when I decided that I wanted to give this a try. And I remember that my first live had one. And I was shocked because I was telling the story. And then I was telling the story, and then I looked down and I saw one. Like, oh my gosh, someone is here. Someone wants to hear it. And I was so happy about it. Hey, Lone Starburst. How are you? I'm trying to get this right. Trying to get your view of the castle in the frame. Hello. Come on in. Tonight is the Wheel of Fate decides the stories I tell tonight. Ooh, I haven't worn that crown in a long time. I haven't worn that one in a while. Very partial to the purple, honestly. Come on in. How is everyone doing this evening? Are you ready for some scary stories? I hope so. All right, I think I've got a little more room up here. The chocolate was taking over. Hello, Robin, darling. Oh, I love your name. If you are brand new here, let me know. We are really working hard to get this live out to TikTok viewers, and I want to know, did you catch us on the FYP, or was it just you were just scrolling through lives and just happened upon us? I want to know so that we know where to, oops, to, oh, not like that. What is it doing? It's acting weird. You're new, Robin. Well, welcome to Twisted Tales Live. Good to have you here. Hey, Mary. Hey, Kimmy. Are y'all having camera? I mean, are you having issues? Okay. Oh, James sent you. James is a darling. Oh my goodness. I am so glad that he sent you over our way. Do you like scary stories, Robin? Hey, Siamese. How are you? Everyone, it's so glad to have you here tonight. We will start at 8:15, just letting everybody come in. It's not freezing on my end. Emma Bama, thank you for sharing the live. My pet crow, where is he, the little devil? Edgar is a menace, and he's right here, and he is very angry with me because I have given him no berries today. He is getting a little on the chubby side, and he needs to go on a diet. He eats too many blueberries, and so he's not talking to me right now. But you know, that's to each its own. If he wants to miss out speaking with me, that is perfectly fine. Edgar, do you want to talk to the Night Dwellers? No? Cat got your tongue? So good to have you here. Oh, I know it. You have blueberries, Melanie? Freezing bad? All right, let me... Oh, I hate to do this because it's going to mess up the live count. Is it freezing for everyone? Freezing up on you too? Okay, all right, hold on. I'm going to end it and then I'm going to come right back in. So, here we go. I know. All right, is this better? Is it still freezing? Much better? Okay. Everything good in everything good. How many likes did we have already? It was going way up. Hello, Cole. How are you? If you are brand new here and this is your first time on Twisted Tales Live, let me know. We were already to 100K likes. Wow, that is crazy. But, you know, I wanted to make sure that it was a positive experience for you all. So, welcome in, Cole. If this is your first time here, and you, maybe Edgar will talk in a little bit. Right now he's mad. And frankly, I do not care. So, we got to get tap in. We got to get that back up there, please. We were able to get 450K likes last night. That is freaking amazing. So, you know what? Since we're having to get everybody back in, we will start at 8:20. Thank you, Alabama, for sharing the live. Everybody, come on back in. We cannot have disruptions. Tonight is the will of fate. Let the will of fate decide the stories I tell on Twisted Tales Live. These are the categories: serial unalivers, true crime, Appalachian horror, folklore, cryptid, what else? I'm trying to remember. Did I say true crime? I did. Fiction. Short story based on a horror movie. Stephen King. I think that's it. I think. So come on back in. Thank you for the FYP. Thank you so much. If this is your first time here, hello, Jules. 267 Paranormal. That was it. How did I miss that? Aliens. That one is on there as well. The past couple weeks, the Will of Fate has been partial to true crime and Stephen King. So what will it decide tonight? You're cheering for fiction, Melanie. All right. And I have not forgotten about Cherry Hill. I have not forgotten about that at all. And Fiction Night is going to be kept on Thursday nights. And so just stay tuned for that. Also, Sunday night, 8 o'clock p.m., it's going to be a subscribers only chat live. So only subscribers will be able to chat, but you will be able to come in and watch the live. So. All right, the numbers are going back up quickly. Thank you so much. Everybody good over there in YouTube? Okay, just making sure. Hello, Shirley. So good to see you. All right. It is 8:20. Let's see what the Wheel of Fate has in store. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Magic Moon, Amy, Pamela. Oh, I see what's wrong. My Wi-Fi wasn't connected. Hold on just 1 second. I'm just having to put the password in. That explains it. There we go. You lost my life. No, we were having technical issues. People said that the screen was freezing up. So hopefully it's good now. Is it good? Still not acting right. I don't know what's going on with it. Okay. So do you like Edgar? Do you like him? Thank you for sharing the live. Yes, it's good. Okay. Here we go. I got it up now. Hey, Ray Ray. Good to see everyone back in here. Oh, good. Glad to hear it. You love him? Okay. I think Edgar is going to be making more appearances. Oh, joy. All right. Welcome to the Night Realm. I am the Night Queen, and you are my night dwellers. And tonight on Twisted Tales Live, let the will of fate decide the stories I tell tonight. Spin the wheel and seal your doom. Let shadows twist within your room. A tale awaits with breathless grin, a truth too sharp to hold within. The will decides, no plead, no pray. What sleeps beneath will wake today. So hush your thoughts and still your breath, for every tale here dances with death. A name, a scream, a silent plea. Let's see what fate has chose for thee. Who's ready for the will? All right, the little sticky notey thingies are not working. They are all falling off even as I am speaking. So I'm just going to pull them off. And here we go. Here is the Wheel of Fate. I know the letters are backwards, I totally get that. And I was going to fix it, but my marker decided that it did not want to work. So, here we go. 2 stories tonight. What will the Wheel of Fate decide? I've seen some interest in true crime, cryptid, paranormal, urban legend. Let's see. Oh my God. It shows Stephen King. This is the 3rd time since we started The Wheel of Fate. Stephen King, horror author, king of horror. What is it about Stephen King? It loves Stephen King. Oh my goodness. All right, let's get ready. For you that are new here, we have a way of transitioning into story time, and there are probably quite a few that do it along with me. Let's begin. Lower your lights. Lock your doors. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to enter your room. And let's begin. Stephen King wrote many short stories. I had no idea just how many. A talent indeed. The name of this short story is one that I had never heard. The title, The Hushed Ones. Let's begin. Chapter 1, The Town That Shouldn't Be. No one remembers when Dunwich first disappeared from the maps. The town sat cradled in a valley of granite and ash, veiled by forests too thick to name, and a silence so old it had a pulse. Even the birds avoided its trees, and if the wind passed through, it did so quietly, as though afraid to be noticed. For years, travelers had spoken of a road off Route 301 that shouldn't have been there, a sloping, barely paved vein of asphalt curling into nowhere. No road signs, no gas stations, no cell reception, just that aching pull, like something wanted you to keep driving. And for some, they did. One of them was Hannah Leary. She was a freelance photographer from Boston, 34. No kids, no spouse, just a lingering grief that she never spoke of to anyone. You see, her sister had drowned the year before. It was a freaking boat accident. At night, even though a year had passed, Hannah still heard her name whispered from bath drains and puddles. She thought the trip might help, might take away the pain, at least for a little bit. She packed up her car. She picked a direction on the map and drove until her phone lost signal and the woods grew too thick to see past. That's when she saw the turnoff, a crumbling wooden sign half swallowed by moss. It read, Dunwich, 7 miles. The letters looked as if they almost were handwritten and old, very, very old. She turned onto the road. She didn't know why. It just felt right. The trees leaned in like mourners. The radio died, and the silence came down like a blanket. 7 miles later, She crested the final hill, and there it was, Dunwich. But the town didn't look abandoned. The buildings were intact, lights flickered from windows, a white church spire rose above rooftops like a warning finger. Children played in the streets, only they didn't laugh. Hannah pulled into a faded lot across from a general store. There were no other cars. She stepped out into the late afternoon chill. The air smelled like soot and maple syrup. And then she noticed the eyes from every window, every porch, every tree. People were watching her. No one waved. No one smiled. A child stood at the corner across the street. His mouth was stitched shut, not by thread, but by a scar. Before she could react, he turned and walked away. The general store door creaked open. An old woman stepped out. She looked like she was made of wood and cobwebs. She almost had an ancient air about her. "You made it," the woman rasped, her eyes pitch black. "I knew you'd come back." Hannah looked at the old woman. "I've never been here before," she replied. The woman just smiled. "Not in this life, dear, but the hush remembers you." Chapter 2. Welcome to Dunwich, Hannah. The woman who greeted Hannah gave no name, only a nod toward the general store behind her. "We've kept your room. Come this way." She said this as if it was a routine check-in, not a surreal detour into a forgotten corner of Maine. Inside, the store was dim. Dust floated like ash in narrow beams of late afternoon light. The shelves were lined with outdated canned goods, rusted tins of lye, worn dolls sitting on shelves with gingham patterns, but no eyes. A bell above the door never rang, despite Hannah hearing it chime behind her anyway. The woman moved with unnerving grace, silent and deliberate. She led Hannah through a rear door and up a creaking staircase to a room at the top of the landing. The hallway smelled of iron and mildew, wallpaper peeled in strips like shedding skin. "This was your mother's room?" the woman whispered. "I don't know what you're talking about," Hannah said. "I don't have any family from here. I was just driving down the road and I saw the sign to Dunwich. I'm just here to, look around and observe. I love old towns." The woman stopped at the door. "You did, before they were hushed." Hannah tried to protest, but what was the point? The woman seemed very firm that she knew her and that Hannah had been there before. The woman had already opened the door and stepped back. The room was perfectly preserved in early 1900s decor. A lace-covered bed, a warped mirror, a rocking chair that moved ever so slightly on its own. That was odd, because the window was closed. Hannah looked up. There was no air vent. So why was it rocking? On the nightstand sat a black and white photo of a woman who looked exactly like Hannah. Same face, same crooked smile, same crescent scar beneath the right eye. The caption read, Eleanor Leary, taken in 1910. Hannah's hands trembled. She reached for the photo. The woman was the exact image of her. She looked back toward the woman, but the woman was gone. She looked at the mirror behind her. It was a standing mirror that tilted. And that's when she saw the mirror ripple. It wasn't a trick of the eye. The glass itself wavered. It was as though it was made of water. Hannah looked around her. She walked across the room and peered out into the hallway. The old woman was nowhere to be seen. And then she turned quickly, and behind her reflection stood a figure. It was human in shape, wrapped in burlap. Its mouth was a gaping, gnashing wound filled with teeth that moved like centipedes. No eyes, just darkness beneath its stitched brow. Hannah spun. The room was empty. She looked at the mirror again. But this time, it seemed solid. She left the room without unpacking, and downstairs was the old woman. She was waiting with a tin cup in her hand. "Drink this," she said. "It helps keep the hush at bay." "What is this place?" Hannah asked. Her voice was slightly trembling from the picture of the woman that she had seen upstairs. "You keep saying the hush. What is the hush?" But the woman only said, "We bury what we shouldn't remember, Hannah. We hush what screams too loud." Drink. So Hannah picked up the tin cup. She was suddenly very thirsty. She tasted it. It tasted like moss and winter. Within a few minutes, the woman kept staring at her. Hannah began to feel a drowsiness settle into her bones. She had not felt this languid feeling since her sister passed. Hannah blacked out within minutes. When she awoke, the room was darker, colder. She looked around her frantically. She was not downstairs where she had been when she was drinking it. She was in the room upstairs. The mirror, she noticed, had cracked, and the photo of the woman who looked just like her was missing from the mantel. Hannah looked out the window. It was dark. It shouldn't be this dark at this time of evening, but it was. She rose up out of the bed and felt very dizzy and grabbed onto the bedpost. She listened. There was no sound. She walked over to the window and pulled back the curtain and looked out. No children playing in the streets. No one walking on the sidewalks. And then she heard a creaking sound. Something or someone sounded like they were just outside the closed door. Chapter 3, The Feast of Ash. When Hannah awoke again, the mirror was split even further down the center, its jagged crack dividing her reflection like a bad scar. It wasn't just broken. The mirror looked as if it was wounded, like it had screamed too loud and shattered from the pain. She made her way to the door, opened it, and walked out into the darkened hallway. She felt almost as if she had stepped back in time. Along the walls were sconces with candles. She stumbled down the stairs, feeling very misplaced. The old woman was nowhere to be found. She had never told Hannah what her name was. And then she noticed something else very strange. The front door. The door that she had came into when the old woman had brought her in. It was gone. There was no door. She should have panicked, but instead, Hannah felt something stranger. She felt hungry. Outside, the sky was a dull gray and purple smear. No sun, no clouds, just a sky that looked like it had been erased and redrawn in ash. Hannah walked toward the back of the store. There had to be another door. And there was, at the very back. It took some prying open, but finally she was able to get it open, and she walked out into a yard with dead brown grass. She wandered around the side of the street and stood looking. And that's when she saw it. A procession coming down the middle of Main Street. The townsfolk were carrying lanterns, and they were humming a tune. Many of them. Hannah looked, and it had to be at least 50 to 60 people. As they came closer to the town, the humming stopped. Hannah then noticed that everyone looked as if they were dressed in clothes from another period, another time. They were forming a procession down the main road. Every woman was wearing black veils. Children were holding dead flowers. Men were in overalls. Some were in threadbare suits that looked like as if they were back from the early 1900s. And all of them, their mouths were sewn shut. Hannah looked closer. She thought maybe she was in some terrible nightmare. Some had teeth etched into their skin with black ink, and some wore burlap hoods. They carried something on a black draped cart, Hannah noticed. The way the procession was, there was 50 to 60 people in the front, and in the middle was the cart. And then at the back of the cart was another group of people. Hannah looked closer. It was a type of coffin, it looked like, but not wooden. It looked like it had been grown with roots and bark and bone woven together. She was fascinated by it. It had a morbid beauty of its own. A young man stepped forward from the crowd. He wasn't like the others. He looked modern, and he spoke. "Welcome, Hannah." Hannah looked at him. He was holding the lantern up high and shining it on her face. "You're the guest of honor tonight," he said. "You need to eat." "What is this? Dunwich, what are you doing? What's going on?" "And I'm not hungry." He smiled. "Oh, you will be. Everyone is. Eventually. Come with us." The young man held out his hand, and Hannah took it, and she wasn't exactly sure why. He led her out into the procession that was in the back. Hannah followed him. The slow procession to a clearing behind the church. And there was a banquet table there. It was a strange table, though. Not your normal wood table with a smooth surface. No, it was twisted together with branches, bones, and rusted steel. The plates on top of the table were cracked porcelain, each with a name that was scrawled in blood-covered ink. At the head of the table sat a chair, and it was taller than the rest. It almost had the appearance of a throne, and it was covered in vines and black lace. The young man led Hannah up to the chair. She looked down, and the name on the plate before her read, on a small card, Hannah Leary. That freaked her out. She didn't sit. She couldn't. But they stood behind her now. All of them. The town, the watchers, the ones with their mouths sewn shut, the hushed. "Have a seat?" "I don't want to." I'm in a bad dream here. She tried to shake her head to wake up, but she wasn't waking up. Hannah, this is real. You're really here. Here, take this. The young man offered her a spoon. She looked at the food, but it wasn't food. It was ash, and it was black and gray. And it seemed as if there was something moving beneath it. Fingers, perhaps. Or teeth. She couldn't tell. And then she heard the old woman's voice in her head. Sit down, Hannah. Eat. Hannah was not going to eat what was on the plate. She opened her mouth to scream. Wake up! Wake up! But when she tried, her voice wasn't there. She could not make a sound. The hush had begun. Chapter 4, The Ones That Crawl. Next thing Hannah knew, she never remembered sitting. She did not want to do that, yet here she was, sitting on the chair made of vines and black lace. Her spine was pressed tight to the tall chair at the head of the table. The moment that her fingers touched the spoon voluntarily, the town let out a low sigh in unison. All of them. The men, the women, the children. It was a sound like wind escaping from a crypt. She heard the woman's voice again. Eat. But she couldn't eat. She couldn't. Beneath the ash on her plate, something twitched. It was long and thin, pale like fingers stripped of skin, bony, white. It curled and waited, as if it too was watching her. It folded its fingers in. And then she heard it. Screech. 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 She looked around her. What is that? It was coming from under the table. She bent down slowly. Her heart was pounding like a funeral drum. And she saw them. Dozens of them. Tiny figures, no taller than a thumb, crawling with twitching limbs and eyeless faces. Their skin looked sewn together. Their mouths were stitched with crimson thread, but they opened anyway, revealing teeth carved from nail and bone. They scuttled between the townsfolk's feet, winding up the chair legs, moving like spiders across the blackened grass. Again, Hannah tried to scream. Still, she had no voice. One of them stopped beneath her chair. It tilted its head, mouth unhinging wider than its body. and it spoke, not in words, but in memory. She saw them looking at her. And then she saw a woman. She had not seen her yet. She did not see her in the procession. She was covered in black lace from head to foot. And a couple of the younger men pushed a mirror out by the table. The woman was pulled over to the mirror and made to stand. Her face was still covered in black lace. And then Hannah saw a bundle in her arms, a child. And then in the mirror appeared a black shadow in the reflection. And it was whispering lullabies in a language that no one alive remembered. Hannah watched. The ripple effect began in the mirror's surface. She began to see things. She saw a room decorated in wallpaper, but it was covered in blood. And then she had a vision of scratches in stone. And then she had another vision of prayer carved into bone. And then she heard chanting, "May silence keep what the living should never speak. May silence keep what the living should never speak." Hannah jerked away from the chair, overturning it. The townsfolk didn't move. They watched with hollow eyes. And then they smiled. All of them. Even the ones who had their mouths sewn shut. They opened. Their lips were bloody. All of them were looking at her. Hannah backed away until her heels struck something behind her. She was a good distance from them. She turned around and looked, and it was a gravestone. Only it wasn't stone. It was brilliantly carved. It was wood. And that's when she panicked. The sky grew darker. The lantern lights. The people smiling at her. The young man that had been with her walked over. He held up his lantern. "Look. Look, Hannah." And there, carved into the wood, was her name. Hannah Leary, 1891. But the date of death was not there. Was she... had she died? Had she passed on? What was going on? The young man that stood beside her now, his voice was kind and low. "You came back to us." Panic filled Hannah. Fear, terror. "I never lived here." Her voice had returned, but it wasn't strong as before. It was barely a whisper. He smiled. "You did, Hannah. Everyone in Dunwich comes home eventually." And then he looked down, and Hannah felt it. One of those tiny, disgusting things had crawled onto her shoe. She tried to kick it away, but it clung tighter. The hush deepened, and the ground began to tremble. Something beneath this town of Dunwich was beginning to wake. Chapter 5. The Root Cellar. Hannah took off running as fast as she could go. When she reached the edge of Dunwich, there was a house. But the house had no windows, no mailbox. Its wood was sliding, curled inward like scorched flesh. The porch sagged as if under some unbearable grief. The door was open, waiting. She carefully climbed the steps. She turned and looked behind her. She saw the lights of the lanterns coming around the bend in the corner. And she heard. The air was thick with rot, and it seemed as if this place was somewhere she had been before. All these visions that she was having, the trees bowed inward as though trying to listen. The door creaked open louder as she approached. It wasn't from the wind, it was from the breathing. The townsfolk were now gathered in the yard. Hannah walked in. She shut the door behind her and locked it. She looked around and the house was empty, no furniture, nothing. But she noticed that the house was not still. The wallpaper moved. It was writhing like something living just beneath the surface. Shadows stretched longer than they should, and the floorboards pulsed beneath her feet. She followed the thrum and could hear the sighing of the townsfolk in the yard. She walked down a small hallway and came to a kitchen. The kitchen was old, ancient, a stained sink, a broken wood stove, but there was one table that had 3 chairs. And then she saw a door. She had to get out of here. She had to get out of Dunwich. She walked over and opened the door and saw steps leading down into thick darkness. The smell hit her first. Wet soil, rusted iron, and something fouler. It smelled like death. It smelled like something alive yet buried. Steps creaked under her as she descended. The air thickened like wet wool. The cellar was lit with lanterns. She felt along the wall. There was nothing there. She stepped further into the cellar, and that's when something hit her in the face, lightly. She reached out in front of her. She could barely see. She grabbed onto it. It was a string. She pulled it, and suddenly the cellar was lit up by a single bulb swinging from the rafters. And in that dull, yellowed green light, she saw them. Dozens of jars. Jars filled with teeth lined neatly on shelves. Child-sized shoes stuffed with old newspaper beneath a table. A woman's braid wrapped in ribbon. A baby rattle soaked in something black beside the jars. She turned and panicked. The stairs were gone. And in their place was just dirt. Dirt that was packed high, no exit, just earth and a sound. Scrape, drag, scrape, drag, scrape, drag. From the far corner of the cellar, something moved. Fear filled her heart. It was human once. Now it was something else emerging from the shadows. It crawled on its hands and knees. Its back was unnaturally arched. Its skin glistened like bark, soaked in pitch. No eyes, just a mouth that was full of whispers coming out of it. It sounded like children's voices, and as it came closer to her, it was it was singing lullabies backwards. As it came closer, the jars began to rattle. The bulb went out, casting her in total darkness, and Hannah felt the earth shift beneath her. She wasn't standing anymore. She was sinking into the dirt. Hands clawed at her ankles from beneath the dirt, small hands pulling her down into the roots. She screamed, but it was pointless because she was sinking lower and lower and lower. And above her, she saw it, that thing in the dark, hovering above her. That not human voice sang a lullaby. And then she recognized the lullaby. It was a lullaby that her mother had sang to her as a child. It was backwards. The words were backwards. Her mother had passed when she was 12. It was the most terrifying thing she ever heard, to hear this creature above her singing it backwards. Chapter 5. Complete. Chapter 6. The Broken Choir. Hannah was completely buried in the dirt. And then she heard music. But it's not the kind that you remember. It wasn't pleasant. It was grating to the ears and upset her nerves. She finally hit something beneath her that was solid. And then she saw the townsfolk in the yard with their lanterns, and the music was their breathing in different keys. Hannah screamed. She tried to run in the opposite direction from the townsfolk. Somehow she got out. She managed to claw her way back up, and then she was outside. She took off running. Hannah, come back. Hannah then passed out. When she awoke, she was lying in what remained of a chapel. The pews were broken and warped, twisted like driftwood dragged from the bottom of a dark lake. The altar was covered in salt. Cracked stained glass windows painted the shadows in bruised colors: violet, ochre, blood rust red. At the pulpit stood a choir. Hannah looked closer and her eyes widened. They weren't people, though. They wore choir robes from stitched together curtains, funeral veils, and wedding dresses turned inside out. Their heads were wrapped in gauze, soaked through. Where their mouths should have been were nails, dozens of them, driven through in patterns. They sang anyway, low, haunting tones, deep hums that vibrated through their rib cages, music without melody, words without tongue, breathing, the hush. Hannah stood. Her throat was raw, her hands trembled. Here she was. She noticed that her shoes were missing. She was bare feet. She couldn't remember taking her shoes off. The choir turned to her in unison. Hollow. And the humming stopped. Out of the shadows approached a man. He looked human. Perhaps. And then the choir started saying, "The preacher, the preacher." And he emerged. He was tall, skin like wax paper stretched over black wire. He wore a collar that was indeed making him look like a priest. But his voice was weird when he spoke. She froze. "Hello, Hannah. Welcome. We are so glad to have you back. You've been missed." Cold chills ran up and down Hannah's spine. The man's voice. It was the sound of her father's voice. Only her father had passed away in a fire when she was 6 years old. He pointed to the pew. She sat. The sermon wasn't words. She began to see flashes of things, images of drowning, of bodies strung from trees, of something beneath Dunwich, the size of a barn made of mouths and grief and hollow things. "We've been waiting for you." And then the choir began to chant again. And the preacher smiled at her eerily. they begin to state. She returns the firstborn daughter, blood of stone, tongue of ash, bride of the buried, bride. The doors slammed shut then, chains wrapped around the handles from the outside, and the floor beneath the pews cracked. One by one, the choir dropped through these holes, dragged by unseen hands into tunnels choked with roots and salt. And the preacher vanished in a blink, and only Hannah remained. She was sitting on the bench. What was going on here? And then she heard a song, faint, rising from the cracks in the earth, a nursery rhyme that looped endlessly. We all fall, ashes, ashes. We all fall, ashes, ashes. But something whispered it into her ear. Chapter 7. The Teeth in the Field. Hannah stood up quickly from the bench. She ran toward the back doors, but she couldn't get out because it was chained. She found a rock, and she walked over to the stained glass window and hit it as hard as she could. This was her only way out. She broke the glass, and then she crawled out of it. A piece of the jagged glass caught on her knee, ripping it open. Searing hot pain traveled down her lungs. The wheat field beyond the chapel, she saw it. It was swaying, though there was no wind. She had to get out of here. She had to. Golden stalks stretched out forever in front of her, brushing the bruised horizon where Dunwich ended. And something worse began. The air here was thick, humid, smelling of copper and root and rot. Hannah was limping. The blood was pouring down her leg. She walked into the field. She looked back. She could see the lanterns coming. She could hear their breaths. She looked. The chapel was gone. Completely gone. The house was gone. There was only the rustle of the stalks remaining. She walked closer to the stalks. She looked down, and she saw dozens of them. Teeth. She reached up and touched her mouth, but they weren't hers. All of her teeth were there. She found the first set lodged in the dirt, perfectly aligned. She picked up one. It was still bloody at the root. And then another. And then rows, not buried, but grown like crops. Molars, canines, incisors, white stones pushing through the earth in a place beyond the corn. She knelt and touched one. It pulsed. From deep in the field came the soft, horrible sound. Crunch. Mash. Crunch. Mash. Something was feeding. Not far now. She walked, weaving through rows of tooth blossom stalks, each one rattling as she passed, as if warning each other. And then came the laughter. Cruel, not joyful, hungry. And from the far side of the field, it stepped out. She turned around. The townsfolk were nearing. The lanterns glowing in the dark. And from the far side of the field it stepped out. 7 feet tall, at least, no eyes, a mouth that split the face vertically. Its limbs were long and too many. It moved like it shouldn't, fast and without motion, almost as if it was gliding. Closer and closer. Then she heard the chant. Ashes. We all fall. Ashes. Ashes. Down. Hannah ran to the left, away from the townsfolk, away from the image. And then the cornfield changed. It rearranged itself. The roads turned to walls, and then to tunnels, and then to corridors of flesh-bound roots with teeth embedded along the edges like barbed wire. And then came the whispers. You're ripening. You're ripening. You'll see the rest. She's coming. She's coming. The music of the breaths was drawing closer. She could not get away from them, and the creature was already there, in front of her, waiting, its mouth twitching open, revealing a mouth but no tongue. And in her hand, she didn't know how, but somehow she was surrounded by the townsfolk. How had they caught up to her? And then she looked down in her hands, and there was a doll. She remembered the doll because it was a doll that her mother had once made her before she passed away. But it was wrong now. Its face was stitched shut, its limbs tied in knots, its dress gingham, and the doll was moving in her hands. It looked up at her and spoke. She's almost here. And then the doll bit her, and Hannah screamed. Chapter 8, The Woman Beneath the Well. Hannah screamed, and the field spat Hannah out, literally. She was airborne, flying above the corn stalks. One moment she was sprinting through the corridors of the wheat, and then next she was flung forward by something that was wet and unseen, landing in the courtyard of an old farmhouse ringed by dying oak trees. Her arms were scraped raw, her knee bleeding profusely, her ankle twisted, but what hurt her most was the sound she kept hearing inside her own skull. She's almost here. She's almost here. She's almost here. The hushed were approaching. She looked up. The moon was full and orange above Dunwich, like something was waiting, and the moon was its hiding place. At the center of the courtyard stood the well, and at that moment, It was as if the moon birthed light. It shone down on the townsfolk, extinguishing the lanterns. Hannah was illuminated in orange light. And at the center of the courtyard stood a well, stone-lined, ancient. The rope was frayed, the bucket splintered and overturned. A ring of salt had once been scattered around the well, but the line was broken. Someone had broken the line of the circle. We all fall, ashes, ashes down. Hannah looked toward the center of the well, and there in the ring, the broken ring, was a woman. She was singing, soft, slow, lullaby sweet. The voice was female, gentle. Hannah felt her own body moving on its own, as if she was gliding. And when her foot crossed the broken salt line, the townsfolk, the hushed, began to breathe harder. The song stopped. From the depths came a gurgled voice. Hannah. She looked down. She could look down into the well. Darkness, deep and endless. And then a shape rising out of the depths. A long white gown, black eyes, arms bent backwards at the elbow, neck snapped and spinning slowly like a carousel. The woman in the well, she wasn't climbing out of the well. She was rising up out of the well. A mist of black water followed her like steam, coating everything in rot. Her feet and hands did not touch the stone. Once she was fully out of the well, she turned and looked at Hannah, grotesque. Her head tilted at an unnatural angle now. Her mouth opened and black water began to pour from it, gallons, rivers, screaming into Hannah's ears until the world spun. And then, silence. They were face to face. The woman's face began to change. Slowly, the rot replaced by ivory skin, the jet black hair, shiny and long. And Hannah watched in horror as the woman who had risen from the well looked like her. The same scar under the brow, same chipped front tooth, but the mouth never closed. It just stretched wider and wider until the corners split open. This thing that looked like Hannah moved closer. You must descend. The townsfolk behind her, their breathing like music in the still night air, the moon casting everyone in orange. You must descend. Hannah turned to run. The farmhouse was back now. The door was wide open. She could see from a distance. She ran, for everything that she could. And as she ran, the townsfolk had turned back in her direction, picking up their speed. She's almost here. She's almost here. Hannah looked behind her, and the woman from the well was gliding through the wheat. She's almost here. Chapter 9. The crows remember. In Dunwich, the birds do not forget, and the crows, they never forgive. Hannah looked up and saw power lines, and from the ruined chimney of a house in the far distance, from the crosses that dotted the overgrown graveyard behind the church was back, the house was back, the schoolhouse she had never seen before, but now it was there. Hannah stumbled toward the farmhouse again, the whispers from the well still clinging to her like cobwebs. Now the farmhouse was lit with the orange glow of the lanterns and the terrifying whispers of the hushed. Her head throbbed with half-screamed voices, things buried so long in Dunwich's soil that they'd grown roots. Crows lined the power lines, and they began to caw. She looked up, and then there were more, covering everything, the windowsill, the porch. At first they were just shadows, but then they began to take the form, perched along rusted fences, silent in the trees like black fruit, hundreds of them. The crows had no eyes. They all were eyeless. And then the hum. It had a rhythm of its own now, and it was longer. She was panicked. She didn't know where to go. And then she saw her gliding. And then the woman stopped in front of her. Hannah froze. It's time. She's almost here. Hannah looked and saw the preacher. She saw the young man who had befriended her at the beginning. She's almost here. And then the townsfolk parted, and right down the middle walked the man, that thing that looked like a man, 7 feet tall, wearing a suit, standing, looking at Hannah. Its limbs were all wrong, too long, elbows bent the wrong way. He opened his coat. Hannah screamed, but no sound came out. One of the townsfolk whispered, "Shh. She's remembering now." She's almost here. She's almost here. She's almost here, they chanted. And inside, her own voice that was now severed could not speak. She began to have the vision. Chapter 10. The townsfolk were upon her suddenly. She was dragged into the house. She was flung into the upper room of the Dunnage farmhouse. And she wasn't alone. The room was lit by the moon, casting long orange shadows. It looked more like an attic, and it was a circular room somehow. The walls pulsed gently as if breathing. She could see light coming up the stairs. Lantern light. The bride awaits. The bride awaits. The bride awaits. The townsfolk that could fill the room, they filled in, lining the room. And there in front of Hannah was the mirror that she had saw the first time she came to Dunnage. All the furniture was gone, but the mirror. And as she looked, the reflection of the glass began to ripple like water. Out of the mirror stepped the woman who had ascended from the well. She looked exactly like Hannah. Her eyes flickered, glowing faintly yellow. And then the hush, and in stepped the man, the tall man in the black suit. I am the quiet between sins, Hannah. I am the thing you bury in your nightmares that you don't want to remember. Who are you? Hannah, I am you. We knew you would return to us one day. And the woman kept drawing closer and closer and closer to Hannah. And somehow she had switched directions and was backing her way closer to the mirror, to the rippled water. You were marked the day you returned. We knew you were coming to Dunnage. You were chosen, Hannah. Why? The hushed woman reached into her chest. She pulled out a stone covered with teeth. Hannah felt herself backing into the mirror, and she stopped. Look, Hannah, look. Hannah turned and looked in the mirror. And that's when something ancient reached out with gnarled hands and pulled her in. They belong to me now, Hannah. I will take good care of your body. The next thing Hannah knew, her lips were sewed shut. She felt her lips. She felt the thread. The hushed ones began to whisper louder and louder. The choir with the hollow, empty eyes. The pastor. And the man. He walked up to the woman that looked like Hannah. I've waited for you. I am here. The bride is here. The bride is here. The bride is here. Hannah watched in horror from the mirror in a dark, bottomless, watery void and saw them join hands. And then she saw the grave, the year of her birth, and the date of her passing, 2024. The townsfolk left the house. The hush. The moon shone huge and full. They wandered back to town. And Hannah could not scream. She was forever trapped in the hush. And that is Stephen King's The Hushed Ones. Wow, I have never heard that one before. What did you think of it? Was it scary? It was creepy. That was very, very creepy. I wonder if that will ever become a movie. I don't know. Let's take a quick intermission, 5-10 minutes, and then I will come back and we will do the second spin of the wheel. Stay tuned. Pretty creepy, was it not? I Spy Insets, welcome. If you are brand new here, come in and let us know where you're from. My name is Bryn Morgan. I'm a horror author. I'm also a teller of every kind of scary story that you can imagine. Oh, wow. Shirley. I love his books. He has got such an imagination that it's just crazy. I mean, how did you come up with that, Stephen King? You know? So glad that you like it. So, what are you hoping that the Wheel of Fate will choose now? I just love it. You're from Maine? Yeah. I just, yeah, that's a great story. It's so visual. He does. It's incredible. Wouldn't it be amazing, Melanie? I do. I love Stephen King. I really, really do. I would like to thank the following for Twisted Trinkets: Martha, Love the Dolphin, XJ, Love 'em All, Spitfire, Debbie Maple, Julie, Palm Mom, Mia, Shirley, Tracy, Carrie King. Thank you. I love those DJ glasses. They are cool. And the well. I saw it and I was like, oh, that's so pretty. I've seen so many that are just gorgeous tonight. Kimberly, Angel, Roy Boy, hello. I don't think I've ever seen that name before. Rose, I love you. Scotty, H.M. James, Sherry. Seeing all these names, this is wonderful. Pamela, Scotty, Jules, Snow T, Kathy. Thank you all so much. NB, these gifts go toward keeping this live alive and thriving. Mr. Tommy Boy, hello. Magic Moon, a Marine's Daughter, thank you so much. I think I just dropped a candy bar. Hey, Jester. Hello, the Buffalo Sky. How are you? No, I am in the U.S. He does. I mean, I don't know. Something about someone just having their lips sewn shut is so creepy. But the different keys of the hums, I could just picture that. I just pictured a very quaint Maine town with a big full orange moon, and townsfolk, a procession going down, like a road, and having all these lanterns and everything. It was just so creepy. I like it though. It's amazing. Let's keep tapping that screen. I would like to be to 300K. before I start the story. He does, definitely, Turtle Mom. All right, are y'all ready? I appreciate them so much. I appreciate all of you. Um, we hit the first live Twisted Trinket goal, and then up here is the Bewitched Boutique with all kinds of different twisted trinkets in there. And do as the moon calls you, whether it is a small gift or a grand gesture, it is greatly appreciated and goes toward keeping these lives alive. All right. The night star was beautiful. That was gorgeous. Thank you. Can y'all hear the music? Is it okay? Please let me know so you have a pleasant experience. Perfect. Very good. Hello, Marianne Charlton. How are you? Absolutely. I love a full orange moon, a harvest moon. I just absolutely love it. I love the moon anyway. That's why I put it in Blood on the Snow. And the fact that it was a crimson moon, I thought was just really cool. I am doing very well, Marianne. Welcome. Marianne, do you like scary stories? All right. Everyone hopefully is back in place. Let's see what the Wheel of Fate wants to hear now. We have all categories on the wheel. There is one spin again. If it hits that, we spin. All right, here we go. Root for your favorites. Paranormal. The second story will be paranormal. And the paranormal story tonight is The Haunting of Red Pine Hollow. Let's go ahead, start sharing the live so people can come in for the second story. If you would, share it to your FYP. Let's keep tapping, 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 tapping. And if you are just coming in, my name is Bryn Morgan. I'm a horror author and I tell scary stories. But here, let's go ahead and get back into story mode, shall we? Lower your lights. Lock your doors. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Perhaps light a candle for ambiance. Wrap yourself up in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to enter your room. And let's begin. I hear something behind me. I wonder what it is. Edgar, is that you? Edgar, this is the last story of the evening, so if you want to make an appearance, then you better get in here. Like now.
Bran? Bran?
Yes, Edgar.
Bran?
Yes, Edgar.
Bran?
Yes.
Bran?
Are you still mad at me?
Bran? Can I have a snack?
No, I told you you're on a diet. You cannot have berries. Never more.
Never more?
That's right.
Never more?
Never more.
Bran?
Yes, Edgar.
Bran?
Yes, Edgar.
Bran?
Yes.
Bran?
Yes.
Bran?
What?
Bran? Can I have a snack?
No.
Bran?
What?
Bran?
No, you can't.
Bran?
I'm getting ready to tell
Bran.
a story, a paranormal story. Now, do you
Bran.
want to sit here and listen to it?
Bran.
What?
Bran?
Yes.
Bran?
Yes.
Can I have a snack?
No, you may not
Bran.
have a snack.
Bran?
Yes.
Call! Call! Never more. Never more.
Never more.
Never more.
Yes.
Never more.
You're bad.
Never more.
That's correct.
That's scary.
What's scary?
That's
The fact that
scary.
you're not able to have any more berries
That's scary.
tonight? Is that scary? Or are you talking about
That's
the
scary,
story that I'm
Bran.
about to tell?
That's scary.
It's scary, yes.
That's
But that's what I
scary.
do. We tell scary
That's
stories.
scary.
Very scary.
Blueberries.
No. No blueberries.
Blueberry.
No.
Blueberries.
No. No blueberries.
Blueberries.
No.
Blueberries.
No.
Blueberries.
No blueberries, Edgar. No.
Blueberries.
Absolutely not.
Blueberries.
No.
Never more.
Never more.
Never more.
That's right. Never
More.
more.
Never more.
No.
Never more.
Would you like strawberries?
Can I have a snack?
Would you consider strawberries
Can I
over
have a
blueberries?
snack?
Not
Can
tonight.
I have a
It's too
snack?
late. It's too late.
Can I have
No.
a snack?
No, you cannot.
Can I have a snack?
No.
Bad bird.
You are a bad bird.
Bad bird.
You're a very bad bird.
Bad bird.
Yes. Now we're going to tell
Bad
this story.
bird.
Yes, we're going to tell the
Bad
story
bird.
now, Edgar.
Bad bird.
You are a
Bad
bad bird. You're a
bird.
very bad bird.
Bad bird.
Yes, bad bird.
Bad bird.
Very bad.
Bad bird.
I need to train him to say
Bad
something
bird.
else. Yes, you're a bad
Bad
bird. At least you know
bird.
it.
My name is Edgar.
Yes,
My
it
name
is.
is Edgar.
Your name is Edgar.
My name is Edgar.
Yes, it is.
My name is Edgar.
It is Edgar. Yes.
My name is Edgar.
Yet. Okay, so I'm going.
Hello. Hello. Hello, night dwellers. Hello, night dwellers. Hello, night dwellers. Hello, night dwellers. Hello, night dwellers.
They are very happy to
Yes,
see you.
Can
Oh,
I have
now
a
you're
snack?
asking them if you can have a
Can I have a
snack.
snack?
No.
Can I have a snack?
No.
Good bird.
Are you?
Good bird.
I highly doubt that.
Good bird.
Highly doubt that.
Good bird.
Chester's been
Good
teaching you
bird.
things wrong.
Good bird.
You would be a good bird if you would
Oh.
actually do what you're supposed to do. You're
That's
supposed to look here and, yes, you're supposed to be
That's
looking scary.
Bran.
Yes, it is.
That's scary, Bran.
Yep. Yes, it's very scary.
That's scary, Bran.
All right, Edgar.
Night Queen.
I am the Night Queen.
Night Queen.
Yes, I am the night
queen.
Yes, I am the night queen.
Night queen.
Yes, I like the other
Queen
name
of
that you called me the other
shadows.
night. Yeah,
Queen of shadows.
Yes, Queen of Shadows.
Queen of shadows.
Yes,
Queen of shadows.
Queen of
Queen of
Shadows.
shadows.
And I am in charge of
Queen
you,
of shadows.
Queen of Shadows. You're
Queen
just
of
trying to
shadows.
scare, like,
Queen of shadows.
you're trying to score brownie
Can I have a
points
snack?
right now. No, you
Can I have a
cannot.
snack?
You may not. No.
Blueberries. Can I have a snack?
You've got a one-track
Can I have a
mind, Edgar.
snack? Blueberries.
You have got a one-track mind.
Nevermore.
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 No. Does anyone want a
Bad
raven?
bird.
He's free.
Bad bird.
You are a bad bird.
Bad bird.
You know, it's funny what you catch up on that I teach you to say,
Bad bird.
but you don't do it. Like, I want you to say scary things.
Bad bird.
Like, this is
Queen
terrifying,
of
Bryn.
shadows.
Yes, I'm the Queen of
Queen of
Shadows.
shadows.
Absolutely.
That's scary, Bryn.
It is.
Can I have a snack?
No, you may not.
Can I have a snack?
No.
Call. Call.
He has a one-track mind, everyone. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. It's a bad angle. I know. I promise though that I will work on that for the weekend before Sunday night. So that is Edgar, and I regret teaching him how to speak. So there we go. All right. The Haunting of Red Pine Hollow. I don't know if Kimmy would want Edgar there. He is he's something else. He really, really is. But he is definitely willing to make more appearances, so that's good. All right, let's begin. Tonight's paranormal story is The Haunting of Red Pine Hollow. Chapter 1. They said that the woods were cursed long before the McLaren family moved in. Thick, dark, red pines lined the dirt road like centennials, older than any map, older even than the towns that surrounded them. Locals knew better than to linger after dusk. The fog rolled in thick and strange. GPS would fail, phones would die. But it wasn't just superstition. It was what people saw and heard, and sometimes never came back from. In 1983, Paul and Margaret McLaren purchased an old farmhouse nestled at the end of the Pine Hollow Trail, deep in northern Michigan. They were city people from Lansing, tired of the concrete and the crime, and the land was so cheap it could not be turned down. It was suspiciously cheap though. But Paul loved it, and he saw huge potential in it. He wanted to raise his two daughters, Clara and Emily, in the fresh air, get back to the land, live off of it, in fact, reconnect and rebuild his family. But some places don't want to be rebuilt. The house was wrong from the moment that they stepped inside. Not broken down or moldy, though there was some of that, but off. Like something was waiting for them to cross the threshold. Things started small. The front door would slowly creak open at 2:17 a.m. every morning without fail. Even when locked and bolted, it still did it. Paul's wife questioned him on it. It's just the floor's uneven, honey. It's just not catching the way that it should. That's all it is. And Paul, he was ever the skeptic. He just chalked it up to a floor that was uneven. The dog, Miko, that they had, he was a loyal shepherd mix. And normally he would follow the children everywhere that they went. But Miko would not go upstairs. He absolutely refused to do it. No matter how many times that Clara begged him. He was her dog, after all. And she loved to cuddle up with him in bed and sleep. She told her mom, I miss Miko not sleeping with me, Mommy. I know, honey. It's a different place. And Miko just has to get used to it, like us. And Emily was small. There was a baby monitor that was in her room. One night, Margaret woke up. She heard whispering. A man. She thought maybe Paul was in the nursery with Emily. She listened closely over the monitor, and then she heard a female voice. She looked over, and Paul was sound asleep beside her. She got out of the bed and walked to the nursery. She opened the door and looked in. There was nothing there. But she had heard something. She was absolutely sure of that. Paul left early to go out and start planting crops. And when he would leave, it would be around 4:30 a.m. in the morning. He had purchased a cow and a horse for the children. Margaret began to hear breathing beside the bed. But it was never until Paul left. And it was always just before the sun would rise. She had told him that something was wrong. And he told her, look, Margaret, we have put everything into this property. You and I agreed that we wanted the girls to have a simpler life, right? Okay, so stop complaining about it. You're just not used to the country. It's very quiet out here and you hear things. So Margaret stayed quiet. She woke up one morning, though, a couple days later, and the whispering was loud beside the bed. And it sounded like Paul. So she flipped over. Paul was gone. She got out of the bed and ran downstairs. And that's when she froze because Paul was in the kitchen. He was sipping coffee. Hey, babe. Paul, how long have you been down here? I went out and fed the horse and Daisy. I came back in. You want a cup of coffee? What is it? Don't tell me you think you're hearing things again. Never mind, Paul. The land was worse. Paul tried everything he could to grow crops. The red pines in the back toward the forest creaked and bent. A deer carcass was found near the tree line. Its head was twisted completely backward, not ripped or bitten, just rotated, clean, deliberate. Margaret decided that there had been too much tension between the two of them, so she made him a glass of lemonade and took it out to him. He was leaning back against the fence. I just don't get it. Why won't anything grow here? I was told that this was prime pasture. It will grow. It will. Like you said, we're just trying to adapt to this new life. Here, drink this. Paul took it and drank it, but he was beginning to feel worried. Had this been the right move for his family? Paul buried the deer. He said it was probably a coyote, but to him also it looked more like a ritual than a kill. Things began to get even creepier. Clara came running down to Paul and Margaret's room. Margaret said it was around 3 a.m. in the morning, and Clara was screaming. She was 8 years old. She ran in the room. Margaret immediately awoke. She was crying. Clara, honey, what's wrong? She's in the room. Who's in the room, baby? Who's in the room? The woman. Paul sighed. He got out of bed. He walked around the edge and picked Clara up in his arms. Honey, you didn't see a woman. She was pale, Daddy. Her hair was dripping. She said my name. Paul took Clara back to bed. But within 30 minutes, she was back. Clara, you need to go back to your room. That is your room. You cannot sleep with your mom and dad. Paul, just tonight, okay? But that wasn't to be. Because the next night, around the same time, Clara saw the woman again. She said that she was scary. One morning at breakfast, Margaret was fixing pancakes. And Clara had been sleeping with them for a week now, solid. So, Clara, I made your favorite pancakes, chocolate chip and banana. She sat down and watched as Clara hungrily wolfed down the pancakes. So, let's talk about the lady, the woman that you see in the room. I don't want to talk about her. Okay. Where is she standing in the room? She's not standing in the room, Mommy. Okay, well, where is she? She's at the window. She's at the window. Yeah, she taps on the window. She says my name. What does she say? Let me in. I don't want to let her in, Mommy. I'm scared. Clara wanted to talk to Paul about it. Just the thought of something was frightening Clara was just hard for her because she wanted to protect her daughter, and there was something that was terrifying her. And really what scared Margaret more than anything was when Clara told her that she was seeing the woman at the window. The window was on the second floor. It was then decided that Clara would sleep in Emily's nursery. Paul had to pick Miko up, literally, in his arms and carry him up the stairs and put him in the bedroom with the girls. But while he was up there, he would pace back and forth, growling. And Clara continued to see the woman. The children were at school. Margaret was home alone. Paul was working with his crops. Margaret heard growling, intense growling. It was coming from upstairs, and it was Miko. It was a cloudy, rainy day, but the rain had stopped. And so now the clouds were just heavy, but it looked like it might rain again at any moment. Margaret opened the door to the nursery. Miko was inside. He was standing in the middle of the room, barking and growling at the glass, at the window. Shortly after that, things picked up. Knocks, always in threes, always on the back door, which faced the pines, which faced the woods, the kind of knocks that you felt in your spine, ringing and deep. Paul heard them. He grabbed his weapon and went to the back door. He opened it and looked outside. The wind was blowing. There was nothing there. Nothing. Just fog hanging like breathless silence across the yard. And then Margaret, his wife, she began sleepwalking. She'd wake up barefoot in the garden, hands muddy, dress soaked with morning dew. One night around 2:15 a.m. in the morning, he turned over and noticed that she was missing. She was standing at the edge of the woods, staring at nothing. Her eyes were wide, her lips were moving, but there was no sound. When he shook her awake, she screamed. But it wasn't in fright, it was in rage. "You ruined it! You ruined everything!" She hissed, and then collapsed. She became angrier and angrier. She began lashing out at the girls. Paul told her that she needed to go see a doctor. The doctor had no answers. The sleepwalking was becoming a normal thing now. There was an event that took place, though, that turned Paul from a skeptic to a believer. It was around 2:15 a.m. in the morning again. He looked over. Margaret was gone. He walked downstairs, and that's when he saw her. She was standing at the back door, her hand on the knob, getting ready to open it. He rushed across the floor and grabbed her, and when he turned her around, her eyes were rolled back in her head. It scared him. It scared Paul. And when he tried to grab her, she lashed out. She had long fingernails. She scratched his face. making him bleed. You ruined it. You ruined everything. Paul talked to his mother. He told her what was going on. His mother said, "Did y'all ever have that house blessed, Paul? I mean, you just moved in there. Did you have it blessed? Did you have a priest come and pray over every room?" "Mom, you know I don't go to church." "Paul, I know that, but Claire's terrified to sleep in her room. When she comes over here to the house, she tells me all sorts of strange things. I think you should get a priest." So Paul really wasn't sure what to do next, and heck, maybe it would work. The priest arrived on a Sunday morning before Mass. He pulled up in a truck in the yard. He got out and he stopped. Paul asked him, "Is something wrong, Father?" "I'm not going in that house." "Well, I'll sprinkle some holy water on the porch." He went into his briefcase, pulled out the holy water, walked up to the porch, and began to sling the holy water against the floor. And then he left. "I thought you were going to come in here and pray over the house." "He doesn't want prayer." That was the last straw. Paul reached out to someone that he found on the internet. It was a man who was not really a paranormal investigator, but he did, try to find out why things were happening with a scientific explanation. He came out to the house. He spent the night there. Not one thing happened. Not one. Margaret did not sleepwalk that night. She did not get up out of the bed. He turned and looked at Paul the next morning. "I didn't see anything. I put up cameras around your property. They were motion triggered, night vision. I didn't see anything. But leave them up, okay? And let's keep them up for a week. Let's see if anything, shows up." I mean, honestly, if there's something here, we'll see it. At 3:12 a.m. every night for a week, Paul would hear the cameras moving downstairs as he slept upstairs in the bed. Margaret began to sleepwalk again. Clara began to scream and cry, and Mika would growl and bark at the window. At the end of the week, this man came back. He told Paul, "Let's watch the footage." And at 3:12 a.m. every night for a week, the same figure appeared at the edge of the pines. A woman, pale, wet, motionless, watching the house. And then you would see the back door open and Margaret would walk outside, slowly walking through the grass toward the woods, toward the figure. Paul asked this man if he could zero in on the face. There was a face. but the eyes were hollow sockets. They fled. They left the house. He took everything that they possibly could. Clara still remembers everything, and now she wants to go back to this house. This initiated a curiosity about the paranormal. And the property is still in their name. So she's excited at this point to go back. Chapter 2, The Hollow-Eyed Woman. So Clara moved back into this house where her family had lived. And she had a daughter. She was newly divorced. The first time that Clara saw the hollow-eyed woman, she was standing at the edge of her daughter's crib. Clara remembered very well the night that the McLaren family fled Red Pine Hollow in the middle of the night, abandoning everything, furniture, photos, the dog's leash, still clipped to the porch rail. Clara was never the same. She suffered nightmares terribly. It was a rule in that house after they fled that no one was to talk about that home. No one was to talk about it, not to friends, not to therapists. And the reason that she was not able to make her marriage work is because she was obsessed with paranormal, and her husband just couldn't take it anymore. But nightmares don't obey geography. So Clara was there for a few weeks, and the hollow-eyed woman was there just as strongly as she was when she lived with her family there for those few months. Nightmares don't obey geography. Clara now had lived in Vermont, hundreds of miles from that cursed soil. She was 39 now, and she had her daughter Lily. She was doing well on paper. She was studying the paranormal, but she also kept a level head. She knew that it was real. But in the house in Vermont, after she left Red Pine Hollow and moved to Vermont, nightmares. She still had nightmares. Red trees, black water, the woman with the hollow eyes whispering her name. Her daughter at this time was 4, and she started talking in her sleep. At first it was just little cute baby sounds and then names, but then one night she woke up screaming. Clara went upstairs, and her daughter was standing up and she was pointing. Clara asked her, "What's wrong?" And she told her, "The woman, she's watching me." Clara didn't want to believe that whatever was in that house in Michigan had moved to Vermont, but she had studied cases where it had happened. The next night, she sat bolt upright in bed when she heard her daughter screaming. She ran down the hallway, burst into the room, picked up her daughter, and took her back to her room. That night, she couldn't sleep. She was wide awake. The next day, she went and purchased a baby monitor. She put it in the room. She was absolutely not going to let her daughter sleep alone in the bedroom. And what she saw shattered her reality. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the same exact time that the door would open at the Red Pine house, the cameras would start moving. And there in the shadows by this old fireplace was the woman, eyes hollow, smiling. And then it would move around the room. A shadow crossed the video screen. And this thing was not human at all. It was taller than the door frame. Its hair was hanging like seaweed, skin damp and glistening. Clara paused the video the next morning and she zoomed in. And there it was, that woman, the one that had looked in her window and told her when she was a little girl to let her in. Let me in, Clara. There were just dark, gaping hollows where her eyes should have been. She called and spoke to her mother, Margaret. Mama? What is it? What is it, Clara? Mama, I think I brought her back with me. What? What do you mean? What brought who back from where? Mama, do you remember Red Pine Hollow House? Yes. Well, I talked Daddy into letting me go there and stay for a few weeks just to do some investigating. Clara, what in the world were you thinking? I've never gotten her out of my head, and so now you're seeing her in your house in Vermont? Clara, what are you seeing? Same woman, same hollow eyes, the same woman that was at the edge of the woods when you were sleepwalking. Margaret was furious. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. Margaret was never the same since she was possessed by the woman in the Red Pine Hollow farmhouse. She would never forget it. It took years of therapy for her to even return to like herself before all of that happened. She was still just her former self. The next night, Clara kept the video camera rolling. And Lily? Clara woke up to her standing in the middle of the floor, and she was laughing really hard. Clara got out of the bed and reached for Lily. Come back to bed, baby. She shut the monitor off and she didn't sleep for the rest of the night. Chapter 3. Clara had made a vow to herself after she took Lily and left Red Pine Hollow for those weeks. She would never return to Red Pine Hollow. Her mother made her promise that she would not do it. I do not want you taking my granddaughter or you back to that house. Do you understand me? Clara made a solemn vow, though. I won't. Do you remember what you dealt with there? Do you remember your body shaking beneath the pillow, beneath the blankets? Do you remember that woman knocking on your window? Don't go back there. But then Clara began to have these violent nightmares. And it was the woman. And after the incident with the baby monitor and hearing Lily laugh, she knew she needed answers. So this time she booked a week of work off of work and packed Lily in a suitcase. She took her to her mother's, and then Clara made the long drive north. Fog followed her almost the entire way, hugging the back roads like a trailing presence. Lily was sad when Clara dropped her off at her grandparents' house. I want to go with you, Mommy. I know you do, baby, but I've got something that I've got to do. With her fascination of the paranormal, she had made some friends in that field. So she asked a few of her friends that were paranormal investigators to come to Red Pine Hollow with her and try to get rid of whatever it was, because it had followed her to Vermont and had appeared to her daughter Lily. She grew closer to the property and just became very quiet. She pulled up in the yard. None of her friends had arrived there yet. She looked up toward that window where Clara had seen as a young girl the woman knocking on her window. She heard the vans approaching, and when they reached the turnoff to Pine Hollow, Clara was standing there in the yard. The pines seemed even taller than she remembered just a short while back, and redder, like they were soaked in something that they shouldn't be. The vans pulled up to the old house. It looked so old, shuttered, overgrown, barely visible. One of the paranormal investigators, Mike, he got out of the van. Man, this looks like a haunted house. I just want to find out what it is. And then I'm going to make Dad put this on the market, and we're going to sell it. We're going to get rid of it. The porch was slightly bowed in the middle now. That night, they set up their cameras, EVPs. They talked, drank, played games, ate pizza. And then there was a rocking chair that was in the corner of the living room. And it started to rock gently. Mike looked at his team. Did you do that? Did someone do that? No, we didn't do anything. Mike started asking her about the history of the Red Pine Hollow farmhouse. She told them that the house was purchased by her family at a very low price. Her dad just could not afford to let it go. It was a good deal. Mike asked her, what were you experiencing here? And Clara told him about the woman and how she would appear at night or in the early morning at her window. Mike said it'd be cool if we could try to find out some history about this place. So Clara and the team, they were not going to sleep in the house. They had brought sleeping bags and they were going to sleep in their vans. And Clara was going to go to town and stay in a hotel there. The next morning, she decided that she was going to try to find out everything that she could about Red Pine Hollow. Some shred of the past, something that was tangible. She went to the local library and tried to look up everything that she could. She asked everybody about the Red Pine Hollow house, but there was nothing really there. And then she was told to go to City Hall because there were records that were kept there. And that's where she hit the jackpot. She found an old local news clipping from 1919, and it was Red Pine Hollow House. Beneath it was a caption: "Tragedy at Red Pine Hollow. Family perishes in fire, except one." She read on. In 1919, a woman named Lillian Archer was accused of setting her house on fire, unaliving her husband and her 3 children. She thought that her husband was having an affair on her, and she was very jealous and also suffered from mental issues. She was found wandering the woods days later, barefoot. Her dress was soaked. They took her to the jail in town and questioned her. She claimed that it was not her that did it, that the blood tree made her do it. She sounded crazy to everyone that she talks to, so she was institutionalized in Traverse City, and she passed in 1923. There was one more person that was missing, and that was a cousin who was there at the house. She was never found. Clara's blood ran cold as she started reading all this, and she got cold chills. She returned back to the house that afternoon and told Mike and his team what she had found. Mike said, "We've got something to work with now. Now I think that we'll be able to help you get rid of her." There was one thing that stood out in Clara's mind. What the woman had said, Lillian. She said that she didn't do it, that it was the blood tree that had made her do it. She got to thinking about that. The blood tree. She looked out the back door, and at the edge of the woods, there was a tree. It wasn't a pine, not anymore. It was just this one massive tree with gnarled limbs that stood alone at the edge of the woods. Its bark was split in places, leaking a deep, oozing red, like sap, like blood. She also noticed that from one of the tree limbs, and she had never noticed it before, a rope swing hung from one of the branches. Clara opened the door and walked out into the backyard toward the woods. She went and looked closer at the tree. The woman was insane. No tree told her to do that, she said. Mike asked her if she would be willing to take part in the investigation that night. I think there's a link somewhere here between you and Lillian. They looked at the woman that was with them, and she was a psychic, a medium. She said, no family tie link, but there is definitely a link. So Clara agreed that she would be in the investigation that night. They sat in the living room, on the floor, cameras rolling. The medium walked to the edge of the stairs She looked up. Lillian, Lillian. We wish to communicate with you, Lillian. Are you with us? Clara froze. The sound of creaking wood above their heads. It sounded like someone was walking across the floor upstairs, walking slowly, heel to toe, along the upper hallway. It was the kind of sound you recognize instantly if you've ever heard someone pacing in anxiety. Clara began to shake. Lillian, Lillian, are you here? Will you communicate with us? The team looked as Clara did. They heard a door opening. They turned and looked, and the front door was opening slowly by itself. The entire house seemed to inhale. Every surface shuddered. The floorboards were groaning like the bones of something ancient and buried. Lillian, Lillian, I wish to communicate with you. I am not here to harm you. Will you communicate with us? The whispering began upstairs, and then from the hallway, and then from all directions. Disjointed voices, some male, some female, one unmistakably a child. The psychic turned. There's more than one here. It's a family. Can you speak with us? Lillian, Lillian, I wish to communicate with you. Did you die in this house? The whispers became louder and louder. Lillian, did you unalive your family in this house? There was no sign of a fire anymore. It had been rebuilt back in the 50s. Lillian, did you take the lives of your husband and your 3 children? The whispers stopped. Mike decided that he wanted to take the investigation upstairs because that's where all the sounds were coming from. The creaking floorboards, the whispering. The psychic was behind Clara. They walked slowly up the stairs, one step at a time. Lillian, Lillian, Clara is here with us. You remember Clara? She is here with us. Can you communicate with us? Can you let us know that we are speaking with Lillian? And then there was a whisper. Mommy. Are you one of the children that perished in the fire in 1919? Mommy. Floorboards creaking again. They reached the top of the stairs to the second floor. I hear you. I hear you. What is your name? Tell me your name. Mommy. Lillian, do you hear your child calling out to you? Lillian. Lillian Archer. Mike wanted to take the room where Clara had first seen Lillian all those years ago, hovering at the window on the second floor. They walked in the room. It was hushed. They could still hear slight creaking. Mike reached into his bag and pulled out a doll and a small ball, blue. He walked in. He handed it to the psychic. Lillian, can you speak with us? The feeling in the room was so thick and tangible. The psychic took the doll. She placed it in the middle of the floor and sat down. What is your name, child? Look, there's a doll for you to play with. Can you communicate with me? Are you one of the children who perished in the Archer fire? Nothing, just silence. And then, very gently, yes. I heard that. Can you come and sit with me? Right here. Can you touch the doll? What is your name? What is your name? Gertrude. One of the technicians beside Mike said, Gertrude. The psychic looked back at him with narrowed eyes, as if to say, you could run this. Gertrude, thank you for being with us tonight. Do you like the doll? There was nothing. And then they heard the creaking again. Suddenly the medium began to shake violently. She tried to back away. She began to grab her throat. Mike ran over and grabbed her. Let's get her out of here. Sometimes she does this when she's made contact. They took her back downstairs. She drank some water, and then she spoke. There is something so dark in this house. Gertrude, the child, she wants to speak, she wants to communicate, but there's something hindering her. She cannot communicate as she wishes. Is it Lillian? I think so. They decided to call it a night because the psychic was still very badly shaken up. What were you feeling up there when you were grabbing your throat? It was when I was trying to communicate with Gertrude. I felt arms and hands strong, very, very strong around my throat. And it was as if it was trying to squeeze the life out of me. The next morning, after they had had breakfast and were getting ready to look at their footage and see exactly what they had caught, Clara spoke up. Do you think that we're going to be able to get rid of this? I don't know, but we're going to try. They went out in the afternoon back to the Red Pine Hollow farmhouse. And this time, the psychic walked in. She looked at Clara. Where was your mother's room? Just down the hall. The psychic left her and walked upstairs by herself. She's going up there alone after what she had to happen to her last night? The team and Clara followed her up the stairs. And there at the end of the hallway was the room that her mother and father had slept in. The door had been shut for years. Dust coated everything. Clara gagged. The air was so thick and coppery and putrid in there. And then the medium began to speak again. Lillian, I want to release you from your pain. I want to release you from your captivity. I want you to go. I want you to cross over to the other side. There is peace and healing in the light. You can cross over, Lillian. Just then, the psychic was seized from behind. She was pulled down to the floor, and she was wrapping her hands around her neck, trying to free something. It was then that Mike had to pick her up and carry her down the stairs and out of the house. Whatever is in that house does not like you. He was referring to the psychic. When they went back into town, one of the investigators told them that he had heard something over the EVP, something that was very chilling. So they went back to the hotel room and listened to the recordings. It started with a psychic calling out Lillian's name. Lillian, Lillian, are you here with us? It's all his fault. It was clear. Lillian, are you the woman? Lillian Archer, are you the woman that took the lives of your husband and your 3 children? It's all his fault. He then fast-forwarded the recording to the room where Clara had seen the woman at the window. Lillian, Lillian, I wish to communicate with you. We are not here to cause you harm. You can speak to us. No. Mommy. Are you one of the children that perished in the fire? They listened closely. Mommy. Mommy, no. Mommy, don't. And that is when they heard the psychic being attacked over the recording. They drove back into town, completely shaken up by what they had heard about Red Pine Hollow farmhouse. And then Clara received a call from the library. She had told a lady that if she was able to find anything about it, to please let her know. So when she checked her phone and saw that there was a voice message and it was from the lady at the library, she called her. You know, we were able to find some more stuff on the Archer family. We found it at the Historical Society. I do remember hearing about a family that fled in the middle of the night because of they said they were being haunted. Clara didn't say a word because it was her family that she was referring to. What were you able to find? Archives, old family records, death certificates. I'll be right over. In 1911, the Archer family had lived in the house known as Red Pine Hollow. She had given birth to 9 children. Six of them had passed under suspicious circumstances. None of them survived their 2nd birthday. Each was ruled as illness, cot death, or failure to thrive. Lillian Archer was once very outgoing, but after the deaths of her children, she had changed. It was suspected that perhaps she had had something to do with their unaliving. However, no one had ever charged her. The town priest at the time, Father Magill, had written letters to the Diocese of Alta. They were archived in a digitized church database because she was cracking. She had completely went off the deep end. Her husband insisted that she speak to the priest. And after the interview, it was written, "There is something unnatural about Miss Archer. She says trees speak to her, tells her who is pure and who is not. I fear she is not grieving these infants. I fear that she is the one that ended them." Clara slapped her laptop shut. She told them what she had heard and what she had read. Apparently, when Lillian Archer's children had passed, her husband was beside himself. He found solace in the arms of another woman. And when Lillian found out about it, rage entered her heart. That night, the psychic said she knew the angle now to talk to Lillian Archer. So that night they went back upstairs. But this time they went to the nursery. Clara remembered well sleeping in the room with her sister Emily. They all gathered the EVP recordings. Everything was ready. Lillian? Lillian, I know you're here. They listened. Lillian, the floorboard creaked. You were very angry, weren't you? You were very angry when your children passed. Lillian, I am here to help you pass over. Speak to me. Did you set the fire that took the lives of your husband and your children? Mike tapped the medium on the shoulder. She turned and looked. The EVP was lighting up. Children of Lillian Archer, can you speak to me? Lillian, you were mad. You were mad with grief. Mad that your children passed, and then your husband doing what he did. There was a wail, a woman's wail. It's all your fault. Clara felt cold chills run up and down her spine. The psychic reached down into her pocket and pulled out the blue ball, small. Look, Look what I have for you. The floorboards creaked again. Gertrude, are you here with us? Speak to us. Are you the child that perished in the fire? The EVP lights were blinking erratically. Lillian, I want to help you cross over, and I want to help your children cross over. There is peace in the light. Will you come with me to it? I will lead you over. It was silent. They went downstairs again. Mike was excited beyond belief. We've got something here. We've got something. Let's listen to it. They went back out of the house and went into the van. The recording began. Lillian. The dull, robotic sound of the psychic's voice was terrifying. Lillian Archer. You were mad in grief for losing your children and your husband doing what he did. Will you come with me to cross over? There is peace in the light. And then they heard it. Hush, children. Don't you cry. Mama's gonna kiss you one last time. Gertrude, look what I have for you. It's a bowl. Mommy. Don't. Hush. Shh. And then Clara had a vision. It was the house that her and her family had lived in, but decades older, the furniture older, the room, a child's room, small beds sat up along the wall, a woman in black, her skirts sweeping the floor. Clara could hear something in the distance. Loud, roaring. Then she smelled it. Fire, smoke, billowing up the stairs. Hush now, baby, don't you cry. Mommy, don't. 3 children, a girl and 2 boys. Their mother shutting them in the room with her. It's all right now. You'll see Daddy soon. And Mommy. Hush now. I'm gonna kiss you one last time. The smoke billowed. The fire raged, igniting the ceiling. Clara cried out, "Oh God, Mommy!" And then she saw the woman standing by the window with a crazed expression on her face. "Hush now, children. Don't you cry. Mama's gonna kiss you one last time." And then Clara saw the room engulfed in flames. She heard the screams. She heard the maniacal laughter of the mother, Lillian Archer. Clara came out of her vision by Mike shaking her. "What did you see? What did you see?" "She took them all. She set the house on fire. I think she had already unalived her husband. She took the children upstairs to the bedroom. The downstairs was already on fire. She walked in and she locked the door. She was singing this lullaby to them, and they were begging her not to hurt them. The medium looked at Clara. "She leaves tonight. Thank you, Clara." So that night, they went upstairs to the room where the children had perished in the fire, along with their mother, who in her insanity had killed her husband and set the house on fire. This time, the medium was ready. "Lillian Archer, I request your presence tonight. You are the mother that took the lives of your children and your husband in the fire. It's time to cross over now. It's time to let your children go. Let them go." The creaking of the floorboard. A shriek. Lillian Archer crossed over into the light. "Let go of your children." "No!" "Lillian Archer, I command you to go into the light." "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy." The voices of 3 children rose. Another shriek. "Let them cross over, Lillian. You've been holding them here for years. This place has been nothing but pain for you. There is forgiveness in the light. There is redemption in the light. Cross over now. Let them go." And then there was one more shriek. And out of nowhere in the dark room, 3 orbs of light small, bright, appeared right in front of the psychic. Children, listen to my voice. You are no longer bound here. You are no longer bound to your mother. Go. Go to the light. No! Go to the light. There is peace and safety. Your father is waiting in the light. The three orbs ascended above the heads of Clara, the psychic, and the remaining investigators. And then one by one, ping, 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 disappeared, evaporated. No! Lillian, it's time to go. You're no longer welcome here. Go to the light. And then, there she was, the woman in the long black dress with the hollow eyes, angry, vengeful, wrathful. She materialized, floating. Go, Lillian. Go to the light. Go to the light. And for just a moment, Clara could see the grief-stricken woman. Maybe she had not taken the lives of the 6 children before. Maybe she was smothered in grief. Her charred skin began to heal right in front of them. She must have been lovely before the fire, before the rage, before the betrayal, before the passing of her 6 children. She looked at the medium and turned her head. Go to the light, Lillian. And then Lillian turned her head and looked at something far off in the distance. You see it. Go toward it, Lillian. Lillian looked in the distance again and then back at the medium. And then she looked at Clara. And Clara whispered, go. Go. And Lillian Archer turned. She floated toward the window. And she was gone. Clara called her mother after the cleansing and told her that she wouldn't believe what had happened in the Red Hollow farmhouse that night. Her mother was so sad. How could we not know that that had happened there? And Then her mother became very scared. Clara, do you think she was possessing me? Do you think she wanted me to hurt you and your sister? I don't know. But she's gone now. They put the house on the market. And it became a restaurant. It was very picturesque with the green rolling hills. Sometimes Clara will still drive out to it and look at it. But now there's no sense of foreboding. Red Pine Hollow Farmhouse is free, as are the children and Lillian Archer herself. And that is the paranormal story of the Red Pine Hollow Farmhouse. Ooh, I have cold chills on that one. I truly hope that you enjoyed that one. That one was scary too. All of them are pretty scary though. Oh no, Lulu. Well, it will, hey kiddo. Well, it will be available on YouTube, and you can go back and hear it. When I first found the story and started, researching and trying to find out everything that I could about it, I was just like, oh wow. It is a sad story, but the children finally being freed, is just beautiful. Gorgeous story. Wasn't that good? Yes, that was really, really good. 467K likes. Wow. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Well, remember, Sunday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, Twisted Tales Live. Now, it will be a sub-only chat, so, but, you'll still be able to come in and watch the story. You are most welcome. Oh, yes, that is right. I forgot about that. Thank you so much for tapping. I know how difficult that is. I was down here and I was so engrossed in both of these stories, and I was just like, oh my goodness. But you're fine, no problem, Wild Witch. Thank you so much. It has been a beautiful night. I enjoy the we are 80% to the live goal. Can we finish it? That would be fantastic. What a way to finish the night. 2 more hearts. 2 more. Thank you so much. Thank you, Wild Witch. So I am so glad that you all enjoyed it. Thank you so very much. Well, it's that time again. We have heard 2 terrifying stories. Scary indeed, right? But now it's time to go to bed. Night dwellers, hush. The hour grows late. The veil is thin. The hands of fate now curl around your weary soul, where dreams slip deep in dark control. The candles flicker, cold winds bite, and something stirs beyond your sight. You felt it there, behind your screen. A whisper from your shadowed queen. I reign where moonlight dares not gleam. The ruler of your last lost dream. With crown of thorns and voice of flame, the Queen of Shadows speaks your name. So bow your head and lock your door. The dead still walk and beg for more. And when the dark begins to see, you'll know you gave your fears to me. In the darkest corners of your nightmares, you belong to me. You do. Pleasant dreams.